Jamaica's Finance Minister Audley Shaw is defending the appointment of prominent businessman Michael Lee Chin as the country's growth czar. Mr. Chin is the chairman of the newly established Economic Growth Council, EGC. Mr. Shaw argues that Mr. Chin's impeccable track record in financial affairs, locally and internationally, made him the ideal candidate for the job. He explains that the EGC is charged with accelerating new projects that will achieve annual real economic growth of 5% within 5 years.
Economic growth ambassadors have been appointed. This is all with the goal of driving economic growth and creating meaningful jobs. And you know, Mr. Speaker, I hear some people being cynical about the idea of having ambassadors for economic growth. And I want to pause here to thank all of those young men who have taken the task, taken on the responsibility, accepting the mantle of taking responsibility for helping to promote investment into Jamaica. I am particularly proud because I remember, Mr. Speaker, in the 1980s, when I was promoting investment with the Jamaica National Investment Promotion Limited. We all celebrated the arrival in Jamaica of Nelson Rockefeller, who was an investment ambassador for Jamaica. The great Nelson Rockefeller from Washington, D.C. and New York. Well, it's wonderful that we have a multi-billionaire on world standards, Michael Lee Chin, who is doing the same thing today, and we can be proud of that.
Meanwhile, the finance minister reaffirmed the government's commitment to fiscal prudence and debt reduction. Mr. Shaw knows that the goal is to reduce public debt to 96% of GDP by 2020.
The government's priority objectives for the fiscal year and through the medium term are to grow the economy and create meaningful jobs, and in so doing to facilitate a faster and a sustainable reduction of the public debt. Accordingly, the medium-term fiscal and debt profiles have been developed in accordance with the quantitative targets agreed under the Extended Fund Facility, the macroeconomic framework, and incorporates the revenue and expenditure measures being implemented in our budget for this fiscal year. The focus of the budget is on adopting strategies geared toward achieving the primary surplus target of 7% of gross domestic product, which represents the operational instrument being utilized to attain a public debt to GDP ratio of 96% by the end of 2019-2020.
And Mr. Shaw is projecting that real GDP growth will increase in the short term. He's eyeing growth of 1.8%, up from 0.8% recorded last year.
Chairman of the Growth Council, Mr. Lee Chin, mentioned the issue of 5%. Many people are misunderstanding that he was suggesting you get 5% from day one. No. He's making the point that to get to 5%, you have to start somewhere. And the projection that he has made, and we agree with it because we are working together on this, is that by year 4 to year 5, we must reach 5%. And after we reach 5%, we're going to stay at 5% or grow higher than 5%. That is the plan.